2 minutes, guys, 2 minutes. And by the way, with FOMC, there's typically two, right? So we typically have a news event at 2, and then we have one at 2:30, right? So technically, the volatility could still start at 2, and then go again at 2:30. I never really trade before news. I like to try and find the follow up after. Typical rule of thumb. Although sometimes it's like news events, like there are certain times where it's like you would have to position yourself before to catch the move. In those cases, I just normally don't catch the move, and then I just move on. 30 seconds for dollar. Look at that rate pause. Who would have thought? I think everybody thought. Okay, first reaction is bullish. Put some more chill vibes in the background. I'm wondering if, like, honestly, we might actually end up getting like a sell-off back down. If I were to do it with currency, it would probably be NU. I'm seeing how there's a lot of liquidity sitting above. I'm seeing how we recently just cleared out recent lows here. This was the news event that went ahead and did that. I'm seeing how we went ahead and came into this last push to the downside to do so, right? So it's like, can we actually get the market to, maybe this 1 minute down candle ends up being the manipulation, right? Maybe we could get a pullback down into here and then go ahead and look for a, position on this to go ahead and like attack liquidity to the upside. That would potentially give a pretty good move. Obviously with dollar, first reaction was down. Now we have this big up candle. So the question is like, all right, can we actually like start to engulf? What I can see is like when I look at the 30-minute and stuff, area here, this is one imbalance, right? This is another imbalance. Sometimes, we get like those short-term accumulations, right? Like we had here today. And then, maybe we end up from there continuing to fall after the first reaction from the news, right? And then even when I look at the way that like a lot of these other things are pointing out, like, NU and like GU and EU, right? The way that we're falling is just like, again, like really good for sellers. You know what I'm saying? So I'm wondering if like we're starting to potentially look to see like if there's going to be a reaccumulation here, right? So maybe this kind of being like our range, right? And then eventually now we're kind of going into a potential spring for a reaccumulation as we tap back into like, the previous lows over here and stuff. We can see we have a gap there as well for EU that we just tapped into right with the news. So I actually end up getting like a short-term buy, or maybe it ends up being long-term, right? And again, it's like when we did this, we came down, we kind of reaccumulated here at the bottom, right? So we could potentially just be, continuing that, which is kind of what I'm thinking I want to see here. So we'll just see how some of these candles play out as we tap back into our zone. Like GU actually has a low that we respected here, right? So technically this is already, like a type 1 setup. We have our previous zone, we have price manipulating into our previous zone, and this is potentially like going to be like our mitigation candle type of thing. But it does look pretty decent to even buy now and then go ahead and target liquidity up top. Got a 1 minute trap candle here. If we start to break above right now, like I might even just enter on the way up. So I'm liking even the 3-minute candle that just printed on GU and stuff. Let's look at the 5-minute. 5-minute isn't great, but if it flips, it would be good. Yeah, I'm actually going to go ahead and take an entry here for GU. So I'm in on this, right? Again, like we did like sweep all this internal liquidity with GU, right? Right now we are kind of seeing, good candles that we want to see. So we have like, obviously we have this entire potential manipulation down straight from the news. And then after that, we have this down candle here, right? And then after that, when we're coming back into that trap candle, that down candle, we create a trap candle right there, right? So that's pretty much where we went ahead and took our entry after that. And so, yeah, like this would be like basically classified as a type 1 setup, where again, like we have a previous point of manipulation, right? We see price come down, react from that, and we play the mitigation after. Basically trying to think like, all right, can this whole thing here become an accumulation? Yeah, if we do sell off hard from here, that becomes a little problematic. So we'll see. Only time will tell, really. Yeah, we'll hang on here. We'll see if, this ends up giving us the reaction we want. Like I said, if we do just take out this wick and go down, then it wouldn't look as good anymore. Let's just see if she holds. I do like how with GU, like we had kind of a bigger reference point there with this. Looks like we're kind of coming a little bit lower. We're back at my, in a little bit of drawdown here from this. All right, if we can hold the trap candle, then the order flow, like I said, is still holding. More so like this whole zone as a whole. Right. And if not, then, again, like from here to here, our 0.5% loss would be right underneath there. So honestly, if we crash back down, like really aggressively below this low, I'll probably close it, to be honest. Again, it could be just like one quick move above the high and then continuing down. Again, NU is just getting into its own zone. I do kind of think it can still buy, like, it could just be volatility here. We might have just got in, here like a little bit early. And then, now we're just trying to shake some people out. Yeah, honestly, guys, I think I'm tapping out right now. I just got out there. I'm going to get out right here. All right. And we're going to let this thing play out a little bit more. We'll see if like maybe even down here it reaccumulates again. But yeah, I do think the zone makes sense. I'm not mad at that. Only a half risk loss. More so the liquidity is to the upside here. And that's been generated prior to the news, right? So I do think the news could be the incentive to do it. But yeah, we do have another news event in 4 minutes. The second part of FOMC is coming in 4 minutes. Again, with NU, like even the way we reacted here, like it just makes me think this is liquidity and we're still going to go. All right, sweeping prior to the news event is interesting. 3 seconds, 3, 2, 1, boom, news event. What's going to happen? What are we going to do? No real volatility here right now. Could be this brings us up to the buy here on NU. I'm going to go ahead and actually try out here on NU since it looks like we had the sweep happen. Honestly, I might even do the smaller stop here. First reaction was good. My entry in reality is down here. GU also like looks like it's taking the lows and swept and then, potentially going up. So this is still valid for the trade. Does look like that was a 1 minute trap candle, right? We swept the low of the trap candle. At the same time, we came back into the sweep here, right? So let's see if we can hold. GU gave another re-entry opportunity just there. If you guys were watching GU, you could have done that one as well. But I don't know. I was starting to like any more. Maybe I should have kept GU, to be honest. But yeah, when it comes to looking for reversals, we do have the kind of candles we want to see. We have this 3-minute candle there. We have the 1-minute candle here, right? We have the 5-minute candle here, right? So like multiple time frames, we're really seeing like fractal candles here. I hate just seeing that entry up there. Like that's not where my entry is. We're going to want this next candle to come bullish. NU is starting to really take off here. Right? And again, that retest that we had even there just makes this idea even better, right? Now we had the 3-minute down candle. We see this 3-minute wick coming up and then literally closing all the way up here, right? But yeah, guys, I am in profit. I'm in profit. But yeah, I just like the way that candle formed, right? This is what I was already expecting to happen. I liked the way that when it came to the New York session high here, I liked the way how we already had created liquidity with that on NU. With GU, we weren't really creating liquidity with that high. Where we bought NU and where we bought GU is basically selling dollar right here. So we basically caught dollar right here, right? With our stop above the high. Okay. And, our idea would be if this whole thing is a distribution, at least down to here, right? We do have equal lows right here.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Someone catch me by head.
All right, guys, I'm personally going to move my stop to break even after that reaction just because it shouldn't come back in again. If we're gonna do a wick like that, we should stay. I'm now moving my stops to break even, right? I'm not going to do it on this thing here, you guys see, because my entry's not actually here. It's actually down here. But let's hope we just continue to buy after that. Like why it's so important to have because again, this is where my actual entry is. If I actually had this entry, now I can't go risk free because I have to give it enough room to breathe, right? But here it's like we're already in a good position where it's like, all right, if we were to reverse, then again, there is the the most likely scenario is that we're seeing a buy to sell if we do get all the way down to here. So that's why it's like really be picky with your entries, really be picky with your entry prices. Doesn't seem like a lot, right? But it kind of is. I think we look good. 5-minute looks like we just got a trap candle there. So if we can have this next candle really go ahead and push us bullish, then it would look really good for our trade. Same with GU. Great reactions, y'all. Great reactions. Man, we're snipers. Let's go. EU still hasn't broken this. Like, we're just adding more to the liquidity now. I think we boom, y'all. I think we might have caught the FOMC trade, man. The FOMC snipe. So right now, how it's looking, when it comes to the logic behind what we talk about, right? So we always say the news events go ahead and cause different phases to start in the market, right? So for example, like in this case, right? I mean, let's say we had for the selling example with the 5 phases, something like this. Kind of how we read it and how we were thinking was that the first news event at 2 o'clock went ahead and brought us into phase 2, right? That manipulation phase right here, we can see we brought us into phase 2, right? Then we end up, kind of getting this reaction down. Obviously, it wasn't a huge reaction, right? Kind of made it difficult probably for people to spot this when it happened. But I think that after that, once 230 hit, obviously we moved, I think, from mitigation phase into the continuation phase, right? So first news event created phase 2, second news event created phase 4. We do have relatively equal lows here on dollar. If this whole thing is a distribution, then we'll probably see it. If this whole thing here is a distribution, then we'll probably see it break the lows at least. God, it just looks so sexy. This is how you want trades to look all the time. Okay, just in case, I'll take partials. So I got some partials out. All right. We'll see where the rest goes, y'all. We'll see where the rest goes. And this could be something long-term because it is FOMC and everything, right? But we obviously want to, balance out the potential for, bigger rewards in terms of continuing to go in expansion with, just potentially just catching day trades, right? That'll be it for today. All right. Another W session. Appreciate you guys being on here.